The space station Unity Prime floated in the deep dark space like a giant silver wheel. It was a neutral place. Many different alien species came here to talk, trade, and argue. But for Leo, it was just a place full of headaches. Leo sat at a long metal table. He was a human diplomat. He wore a clean blue suit and looked tired. In front of him sat High Speaker Mork. Mork was a member of the Hegemony, the group that controlled most of the galaxy. Mork looked like a giant squid with blue skin. He floated in a tank of water next to the table. His tentacles moved slowly as he spoke through a translator machine. Leo, Mork gurgled. We have been talking for 3 hours. The answer is still no. Your people cannot have the water purification technology. You are too young as a species. You are not ready. Leo took a deep breath. He tried to stay calm. High Speaker Mork, Leo said. The colony on New Kansas is dying. Their water is making them sick. We just need the filters. We have plenty of things to trade. We have metals, art, and data. Mork laughed. It sounded like bubbles popping. Your metals are common. Your art is cute. And your data is primitive. The Hegemony does not trade with children. You must wait. Maybe in another 1,000 years, you will be mature enough to join the big table. Leo looked at his hands. He felt angry, but he could not show it. If he got angry, Mork would just call him an emotional mammal and leave. Meanwhile, outside the station, a large ship called the Pilgrim was moving slowly. The Pilgrim was a civilian transport ship. It carried families, workers, and goods between Earth and the outer colonies. Mia was on that ship. Mia was a field commander for the Human Security Force. She sat in the command chair, watching the stars fly past on the screen. Mia was a tall woman with short hair. She looked calm, but she was always watching for danger. Suddenly, the alarm light turned red. A loud noise filled the ship. Warning, a computer voice said. Unknown ship approaching. Weapons locked. Mia stood up immediately. Report, she said to the crew. A young man named Jax pressed buttons on his console. Jax was a scout. He was young but very smart. It's a Provoke patrol ship, Jax said. It looks like a hunter-class vessel. It's huge. Mia frowned. Provoke, they are supposed to be on the other side of the sector. Why are they here? Open a channel. Let's talk to them. The screen flickered. An insectoid face appeared. The alien had hard black skin, many eyes, and sharp mandibles that clicked together. It was a Provoke commander. Mia spoke clearly. This is Commander Mia of the human ship Pilgrim. You are in a civilian lane. Identify yourself and state your intent. The translator on the alien ship was old. It did not work well. The Provoke language was based on smells and clicks. When Mia spoke, the translator turned her polite words into something else. It told the Provoke commander that Mia was claiming to be the supreme ruler of the space and demanding the alien bow down. The Provoke commander was furious. His species believed in a strict hierarchy. He would not bow to a soft-skinned alien. You insult the hive. The alien screeched. Prepare to be boarded and enslaved. Wait. Mia said, but the screen went black. On the station, Leo's communication device buzzed. He tapped his ear. This is Leo. Leo, it's Jax, the voice said over the radio. Leo could hear alarms in the background. We have a big problem. A Provoke ship is attacking the Pilgrim. They fired a warning shot across our bow. They are sending boarding shuttles. Leo felt cold. Is Mia there? She is leading the defense team now, Jax said. But they are Provoke, Leo. They are legendary fighters. We only have small security guards and mining tools. Keep the line open, Leo said. He looked up at Mork. One of your member species is attacking a human civilian ship. The Provoke. You need to stop them. Mork waved a tentacle. The Provoke are violent, yes. But they are not part of the hegemony. They are mercenaries. If they are attacking you, you probably offended them. They attacked us without warning. Leo said. Call them off. I cannot, Mork said. But do not worry, Leo. The Provoke do not destroy useful resources. They will likely board your ship, kill the fighters, and take the rest of you to work in their crystal mines. It is hard labor, but it is a life. You humans should be grateful. It is better than being vaporized. Leo stared at the alien. Mork was serious. Mork thought it was fine for humans to be slaves. To the hegemony, humans were just small, weak creatures. They were not worth saving. No, Leo said quietly. What Mork asked. No, we will not be grateful, Leo said. His voice was hard. And we will not be slaves. He tapped his earpiece again. Mia, can you hear me? Loud and clear, Mia's voice came back. She was running down a corridor on the ship. She held a pulse rifle in her hands. We are locking down the bulkheads. The crew is scared, but they are moving. Mia, listen to me, Leo said. The aliens think we are weak. They think they can just walk in and take us. Do not surrender. Do not let them take anyone alive. If they want a fight, give them one. Mia smiled. It was not a nice smile. I was hoping you would say that. We are preparing a surprise. On the Pilgrim, the chaos was organized. Mia did not tell people to run. She told them to fight. Sam, a female engineer, was running around with a welding torch. She wasn't repairing the ship, she was modifying it. Jax, help me with this door, Sam shouted. Jax ran over. What are you doing? I am welding the outer door shut and electrifying the inner handle, Sam said. When they try to burn through the door, they will get a shock. Then we open the trap. Trap, Jax asked. Yes, Sam pointed to the ceiling panel above the door. I put a bunch of mining explosives in there. Simple and effective. Back on the station, Mork watched a hologram of the battle. The Provoke shuttles had docked with the Pilgrim. The boarding parties were cutting through the hull. It is over, Leo, Mork said. Look at the size difference. Your people are soft. They have no exoskeletons. They have no claws. They will be screaming in fear. Leo watched the screen too, but he didn't see fear. He saw humans doing what they did best. He saw them adapting. On the ship, the first group of Provoke soldiers broke through a hallway. They were tall, covered in black armor, and held sharp energy spears. They clicked their mandibles, expecting to see humans crying on the floor. Instead, the hallway was empty. Where are the prey? One alien clicked. Suddenly, a vent above them opened. Jax dropped down. He didn't have a gun. He had a heavy wrench. He landed on the back of the lead alien, hitting him hard on the head. The alien fell. Before the others could react, Sam, who was hiding behind a crate, pressed a button. The floor under the aliens became electrified. They shook and fell. Now! Mia shouted. From side doors, 10 human crew members appeared. They didn't have fancy energy swords. They had metal pipes, wrenches, and heavy tools. They swarmed the aliens. The Provoke were strong, but they were used to fighting in open spaces, not in tight corridors. The humans moved like a pack of wolves. They hit the aliens' joints, they tripped them, and they used the aliens' own armor against them. In less than a minute, 5 elite Provoke warriors were unconscious on the floor. On Unity Prime, Mork stopped bubbling. What just happened? Mork asked. Did that small male just drop from the ceiling? Leo crossed his arms. Yes. That is Jax. He is a scout. And that is Mia commanding the floor. You said we were harmless, Mork. You said we were just cattle. Mork zoomed the camera in. The humans weren't cheering. They were already dragging the alien bodies away and setting up a new barricade. They were moving with cold efficiency. This is illogical, Mork said. They should be fleeing. They aren't fleeing, Leo said. They are angry. And you know what the most dangerous animal in the forest is? It's not the big bear. It's the one that fights when it has nothing left to lose. The battle on the Pilgrim continued. More aliens boarded, but they found no easy targets. They found darkness, traps, and humans who refused to stay down. Mia led her team from the front. She wasn't stronger than the aliens, but she was smarter. She used the ship's gravity systems to her advantage, turning off the gravity in sections just when the aliens jumped, making them float helplessly while humans pushed off walls to strike. Jax was everywhere. He was too fast for the heavy aliens. He would shoot, move, and shoot again. Sam turned the ship into a weapon. She vented air from sections to suck the aliens out into space. Leo watched the feed. He knew this was just the beginning. The Provoke would not take this embarrassment lightly. They would call for more ships. They would bring a fleet. But looking at the fierce determination of his people on the screen, Leo felt a surge of pride. Mork turned to Leo, his eyes wide. Leo, you must tell them to stop. If they humiliate the Provoke will not stop at enslavement. They will wipe you out. They will destroy Earth. Leo looked at the high speaker. No. They started this. We will finish it. You are crazy, Mork said. You are soft and weak. You cannot win a war against the Provoke. Leo picked up his briefcase. We are not weak, Mork. We are just quiet. You mistook our silence for weakness. That is a mistake you won't make again. Leo walked out of the room, leaving Mork staring at the screen in shock. On the Pilgrim, Mia stood over a defeated alien soldier. She breathed heavily, her face covered in grease and sweat. Status report, she asked. Boarding party neutralized, Jax said over the radio. But Captain, sensors show more ships jumping in. A lot more. Mia looked at the red dots appearing on the radar. Let them come, she whispered. Let them all come. The warning sirens on the station Unity Prime had stopped, but the silence was heavy. Leo walked down the metal hallway, his shoes making a sharp clicking sound. He was heading back to the diplomatic quarters, but he knew nothing would be the same. The attack on the civilian ship, the Pilgrim, had changed everything. The hegemony, the great government of the galaxy, had just watched. They did nothing. Leo felt a cold anger in his chest. He realized that to the aliens like Mork, humans were not people. They were just things to be used or ignored. In his room, Leo turned on the large screen on the wall. He needed to see the aftermath of the battle. The screen showed the Pilgrim drifting near the station. Its hull was scorched and blackened. There were holes in the side where the boarding torpedoes had hit. But the ship was still there. It had not surrendered. Leo saw live feeds from the human channels. He saw Mia giving orders. She was tired, her face smeared with dirt, but she stood tall. He saw Sam, the engineer, trying to fix the engines with a flashlight in her mouth. He saw Jax helping the injured. They were alive. They were fighting. Leo sat down and began to type a message. He did not send it to the hegemony. He sent it to Earth. He sent it to the Human Defense Council. The hegemony will not help us, Leo wrote. We are on our own. The Provoke are not just pirates. They are a warrior culture. They view us as an insult. They will come back, and they will bring a fleet. We must prepare for total war. He pressed send. He knew it would take hours for the message to travel to Earth, but there was no time to lose. Meanwhile, inside the Pilgrim, the mood was tense but strange. The crew and passengers were not crying anymore. They were working. They were angry. Mia stood in the mess hall, which had been turned into a command center. The tables were covered with maps and tools. A young woman named Sarah, who was a cook before the attack, was now learning how to load a pulse rifle from a security guard. Listen to me, Mia said to the room. Her voice was strong. The aliens think we are weak. They think because we don't have shells like them, we are easy to crush. They are wrong. We have something they don't have. We have brains, and we work together. We aren't going to hide in the corner. We are going to make this ship a trap. The people cheered. It was a quiet cheer, but it was real. They were tired of being afraid. Jax walked up to Mia. Captain, the sensors are picking up a signal. It's a distress call from a mining colony on a nearby asteroid. The Provoke are there too. Mia looked at the map. They are hitting multiple targets. They are trying to clear the sector. We have to help, Jax said. Mia nodded. But we can't just fly there shooting. We need a plan. She looked around the room until she saw Sam. Sam, can we make the engines run faster? Sam looked up from a pile of wires. The engine is damaged. But if I bypass the safety regulators and mix the fuel directly, I can get a burst of speed. It might blow up, but it will be fast. Mia smiled. Good. Do it. Jax, get the teams ready. We are going to hunt. Back on Unity Prime, High Speaker Mork floated in his private office. He was watching the recording of the boarding battle again. He could not believe what he saw. The humans did not fight like the other species. The Provoke were huge and strong. Usually, when they boarded a ship, the crew would hide or beg for mercy. The humans did not hide. They used the corridors. They used the air vents. They used the dark. One scene caught Mork's eye. He watched a human female, Sam the engineer, lure 3 Provoke warriors into an engine room. She pretended to be scared. She ran behind a generator. The aliens followed, laughing their clicking laughs. Then, she threw a switch. Steam burst from pipes, blinding the aliens. Then she threw a heavy wrench into the exposed machinery. It sparked and exploded. The humans were cunning. They used the environment as a weapon. Mork felt a shiver go down his spine. He had lived for 400 years. He had seen many wars. But he had never seen a species that turned a mining ship into a war machine so fast. A buzzer rang on Mork's desk. It was a communication from the Provoke flagship. Mork hesitated. Usually, he would take the call immediately. The Provoke were important allies. But now, he paused. He touched a button. A hologram of Overlord Vex appeared. Vex was terrifying even on a screen. His mandibles were stained with the blood of other species. "Hi speaker," Vex hissed. "My patrol ship reports a problem. They attacked the human ship, but they have not returned. The humans are refusing to surrender. This is an insult to the hive." Mork cleared his throat. "Overlord Vex. The humans are stubborn. Perhaps it is best to let this go. Take the mining colony and leave the humans alone." "No," Vex clicked sharply. "They fought back. They wounded my warriors. They showed resistance. In our culture, resistance must be crushed completely. We cannot allow soft creatures to bite the hand of the hive. We will exterminate them." "But they are protected under the trade agreement," Mork said weakly. "They are nothing," Vex said. "And you are weak for defending them. We are sending a hive fleet. It will arrive at the human home world in 3 weeks. Prepare to watch the skies burn, Mork. We will show you how to deal with vermin." The screen went black. Mork floated in silence. He knew he should warn Leo. But he was afraid of the Provoke. And he was afraid of the humans. If the Provoke came, the humans would die. Mork decided to do what politicians always do. He decided to wait and see who won. On the Pilgrim, the ship was vibrating. Sam's engine modifications were working. The ship moved fast, cutting through the dark space like a knife. Jack sat in the gunner's seat, even though the ship was not a warship. He had attached 2 mining lasers to the front. They were not strong weapons, but they were better than nothing. Approaching the asteroid colony, the computer voice said. "I see them," Mia said. There were 3 Provoke raiders hovering near the rocky asteroid. They were shooting at the colony domes. "Sam, get us close. Jax, aim for their engines. Don't try to blow them up. Just stop them from moving." "I'm on it," Jax said. The Pilgrim dived toward the asteroid. The Provoke ship saw the human transport coming. They expected it to run away. They were confused when it flew straight at them. Jax fired the mining lasers. They were not precise, but at close range, they were hot. Blue beams of light cut into the side of one raider. The raider spun out of control and crashed into the asteroid. "Hit!" Jax shouted. The other 2 raiders turned their guns toward the Pilgrim. "Evasive maneuvers," Mia yelled. She grabbed the control stick and pulled it hard. The ship groaned. Metal panels shook loose. Laser fire streaked past the window, missing by inches. "We are too heavy," Sam yelled from the engine room. "I need to drop something to make us faster." "Drop the cargo," Mia shouted. "But that is the food for Earth," Sam said. "Drop it," Mia ordered. "We can't eat if we are dead." Sam hit the release button. The back of the ship opened. Tons of crates and containers floated out into space. The Provoke ships flew right into the debris field. The heavy crates smashed into their hulls, denting their armor and breaking their sensors. "Now," Mia said. "Jax, finish them." Jax aimed the lasers at the confused aliens. He fired rapidly, hitting their weapon systems. The two raider ships, damaged and disoriented, retreated. They turned and flew away into the dark. Inside the Pilgrim, the crew cheered. Mia did not cheer. She looked at the radar. "They are running," she said. "But they are going to tell their friends." Leo watched the news from his room. He saw the report about the Pilgrim saving the asteroid colony. The Hegemony News channel called it a lucky accident. They said the humans were barbaric for dropping their cargo. But Leo saw the truth. He saw that humans could fight. He saw that Mia, Jax, and Sam were not just diplomats or workers. They were warriors. Leo stood up. He walked to the window of his room. He looked out at the stars. He knew the Provoke fleet was coming. He knew Earth was in danger. But he also knew that the galaxy had made a mistake. They had pushed the humans, and the humans were pushing back. The war had started, and it was going to be much harder than anyone thought. The most dangerous species in the galaxy had woken up, and they were angry. 3 weeks had passed since the fight near the asteroid. The solar system was quiet, but it was the kind of quiet that comes before a big storm. Earth was not sleeping. In orbit around the blue planet, hundreds of ships were moving. They were not shiny and perfect like the ships of the Hegemony. They looked different. They looked rough, patched together, and dangerous. Humans had stopped building peaceful things. Every factory on the ground and in space was now making weapons. Mia stood on the bridge of the flagship, the Eternal Guardian. It was a large ship that used to be a cruise liner for tourists. Now, it was covered in thick metal armor plates. The windows were covered with blast shields. Mia wore a uniform that looked simple, but she had a gun on her hip. She looked at the main screen. It showed the edge of the solar system. "Report," she said. Jax was at the radar station. He looked tired. He had dark circles under his eyes, but his hands moved quickly over the keyboard. "Contacts detected," Jax said. "Big ones. It's the Provoke Hive fleet." On the screen, red dots appeared. There were hundreds of them. The shapes were sharp and ugly, like insects made of black metal. They moved together in a swarm. In the middle of the swarm was a ship so big it looked like a moon. It was the flagship of Overlord Vex. "Send the signal to all units," Mia said. Her voice was calm. "Formation Delta. Don't bunch up. Spread out." High Speaker Mork was watching from a safe distance. He had a small ship hiding behind the moon of Jupiter. He was transmitting the video to the Hegemony Council. "They are here," Mork said into his microphone. "The Provoke have arrived with their full force. The humans have no chance. Look at the size difference." On the screen, Overlord Vex sent a message to Earth. It played on every radio and speaker in the system. "Little creatures," Vex hissed. "You have fought against ants and thought you were strong. Now you face the Hive. We are the masters of the galaxy. You cannot stop us. Lower your shields and bow down. If you do, we will only take half of your population to work in the mines. If you resist, we will burn your world to ash." There was silence on Earth. Then, a voice came back. It was not the voice of a politician. It was Leo. He was on Earth, in the main command bunker. "Vex," Leo said. "You talk too much. We do not bow. We do not negotiate with slavers. If you want this planet, come and take it." Vex screamed in rage. "Destroy them." The Provoke fleet moved forward. They fired their green energy beams. The hegemony watched and waited for the human line to break. But the human ships did not stay in a line. As soon as the Provoke fired, the human ships scattered. They moved in different directions, like flies annoying a lion. Sam was in the engine room of the Eternal Guardian. She had modified the gravity drive. "Hold on!" she yelled. She pushed a lever. The ship shook violently and shot forward with incredible speed. It did not fly straight. It spun and turned, making the Provoke lasers miss. "They are too fast." A Provoke pilot clicked. "I cannot lock on." In space, the battle began. It was not a gentleman's duel. It was a messy fight. The human ships were smaller and weaker, but there were so many of them. They used the asteroids and the moons to hide. A group of human ships hid behind Mars and jumped out when the Provoke passed, firing their missiles into the rear engines of the enemy ships. Mia watched the tactical map. "Target the lead ships," she ordered. "Aim for their antennas. Don't let them talk to each other." Jax smiled. "I see a pattern. They follow the ship in front. If we take out the leader, the followers get confused." "Do it," Mia said. Jax aimed the main gun. It was a railgun, a weapon that used magnets to shoot a piece of metal at super speed. He fired. A metal rod the size of a car shot across space. It smashed through the front of a Provoke destroyer. The ship exploded in a silent flash of fire. Down on Earth, Leo watched the battle with other leaders. "The aliens are confused," Leo said. "They expect us to stand still and die. We are not giving them what they want." But the Provoke were strong. Their weapons were powerful. 3 human ships were hit and destroyed. It was painful to watch, but the humans did not retreat. Instead, they did something the aliens had never seen. On the Earth's moon, there were huge metal rails built into the ground. These were the kinetic bombardment rods that Sam had helped design. They were massive telephone poles made of solid tungsten. "Firing now," a controller said. Massive engines on the moon roared. The rods were launched into space. They had no engines and no explosives. They were just very heavy, and they were falling from the sky. They moved silently toward the Provoke fleet. The Provoke sensors did not detect them as weapons because they had no energy signature. By the time they saw them, it was too late. The rods smashed into the Provoke ships. The speed was so high that the impact created huge explosions. A human battleship was hit, not by a laser, but by a falling rock. The ship crumpled like a soda can. The kinetic energy tore through the hulls and engines. Overlord Vex watched from his bridge. "What is this weapon?" he roared. "Where is the energy beam?" "It is just gravity." A pilot shouted. "They are throwing rocks at us." The strategy was working. The Provoke were terrified. They were a species that loved technology and energy beams. Being defeated by simple physics insulted them. Meanwhile, Jax had a crazy plan. He gathered a team of the best pilots. "We are going to board them," he told them. "We have no boarding tubes," a pilot said. "We don't need tubes," Jax said. "We have speed. We will fly our shuttles right into their landing bays. We will crash the ships and get out fighting." It was a suicide mission, but the pilots agreed. They were angry. They were tired of being afraid. 10 small shuttles flew away from the human fleet. The Provoke gunners laughed. "Look, the insects flee." They ignored the small ships, aiming their big guns at the human cruisers. But the shuttles turned around. They flew straight at the Provoke dreadnought. The gunners tried to shoot, but the shuttles were too small and fast. Crash! Bang! The shuttles smashed into the landing bays of the big alien ship. The metal screeched and sparks flew. The Provoke soldiers inside the bay were shocked. They ran to the doors, expecting to see the humans dead. Instead, the ramps of the crashed shuttles opened, and humans rushed out. They wore heavy spacesuits and carried shotguns and flamethrowers. They didn't fight with honor. They threw smoke grenades. They used loud noises to scare the aliens. Mia watched the data come in. Jax and his team are inside the enemy flagship. Can they survive? Leo asked over the radio. They don't have to survive, Mia said. They just have to break things. Inside the dreadnought, Jax led his team. They fought through the corridors. The aliens were tall and strong, but the corridors were narrow. The humans could hide easily. Jax found a power conduit. Plant the explosives here, he shouted. We are going to blow their lights out. The battle above Earth raged for hours. The sky was full of fire and debris. The Provoke were losing more ships than they expected. Their warriors were brave, but they were confused. The humans were fighting like a pack of wild animals. They did not follow the rules of war. They trapped the aliens, they tricked them, and they hit them from behind. High Speaker Mork was silent. He could not believe his eyes. The Level 3 civilization was holding its ground against a Level 7 military power. The humans were losing ships, yes, but they were destroying the enemy too. Look at their psychology, Mork whispered to himself. The Provoke are terrified. They rely on fear to win. But humans do not know when to give up. They are broken, bleeding, and they keep coming. The biggest shock came when the Provoke flagship suddenly lost power. The lights went out. The shields dropped. Jax and his team had blown the main reactor. The huge ship was dead in the water. Mia saw the chance. All ships, focus fire on the flagship. Now. Every human ship in the fleet turned its guns toward the dark, floating hulk of Vex's ship. Lasers and missiles slammed into it. The explosions ripped through the hull. The ship began to break apart. Overlord Vex realized his ship was doomed. He had to flee. Retreat. He ordered, his voice full of fear. Get us out of here. The remaining Provoke ships turned and ran. They jumped into hyperspace, leaving their damaged ships behind. The solar system was safe, for now. On the bridge of the Eternal Guardian, Mia sat down in her chair. She took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking slightly, but she took a sip of water and stood up again. Damage report, she said calmly. Shields at 20%, Jax said over the radio. We made it, Mia. We actually made it. Leo watched from Earth. The red dots on the radar were disappearing. He looked at the other leaders in the room. Send a message to the hegemony, Leo said. Tell them the fight is over. But tell them we are not done yet. The galaxy had changed today. The humans were not just prey anymore. They were the hunters. And the other species were watching. The war did not stop after the battle at Earth. In fact, it became stranger. The Provoke fleet had retreated, but they were not defeated. They were hiding, regrouping, and trying to understand what had gone wrong. For Overlord Vex, the problem was not just that his ships were broken. The problem was in his mind. He could not sleep. He kept seeing the humans in his dreams. Vex sat on his throne on his home planet, a dark world of sharp rocks and purple skies. He watched the battle recordings again and again. He watched the small human ships crash into his dreadnought. He watched the humans fighting in the dark corridors with simple tools. He paused the screen on the face of a human soldier. The soldier was bleeding from his head, but his eyes were fierce. He was not screaming. He was snarling like a wolf. "Advisor," Vex hissed. A smaller alien with many eyes scuttled forward. "Yes, Great Overlord." "Analyze this creature," Vex ordered. "Why do they not stop? We destroyed their ship." "They were breathing poison smoke. They should have been on the floor crying. Why did they keep coming?" The advisor looked at the screen nervously. "Great One, our biologists have studied the data. Humans are unusual. They are physically soft. They have no shells, no claws, and thin skin. A simple cut can kill them with infection. But their brains are different." "In what way?" Vex asked. "They do not feel pain the same way we do," the advisor explained. "Or rather, they can ignore it. When they are hurt, their bodies release chemicals that make them want to fight harder. They are not like us. We fight to conquer. Humans fight to survive. They are capable of enduring things that would drive a Provoke mad. They call it adrenaline." Vex smashed his fist into the metal arm of his throne. "They are monsters. They hide their weakness with madness." Meanwhile, on the human side, things were not peaceful, but there was a strange energy. The people of Earth were not scared anymore. They were angry and active. The factories worked day and night. But something else was happening. Humans were enjoying the challenge. In a hospital on Earth, a pilot named Tom was recovering from burns he got during the battle. A nurse was changing the bandages on his arm. It looked painful. "I am sorry," the nurse said. Tom laughed. "It's fine. Did you see the shot I made before I got hit? I took out their engine." "You are crazy," the nurse said, smiling. "You should be resting." "I can't rest," Tom said. "The guys are out there. We need to finish the job." This was the human advantage. While the Provoke were confused and fearful, the humans were adapting. They were learning how to fight in space faster than any species in history. Leo was on Earth, meeting with the top commanders. He stood in front of a large map of the galaxy. Sam, Mia, and Jax were there, along with generals and engineers. "They are hiding in the nebula," Mia said, pointing to a dark spot on the map. "Our scouts see small ships going in and out." "We cannot attack them there," a general said. "The nebula messes with our sensors. We would be flying blind. If we send our fleet in, they will ambush us." Leo looked at Sam. "Sam, what do you think?" Sam was chewing on a pen, looking at a tablet. She looked up. "We don't need to go in with a big fleet. The Provoke expect us to be afraid of the nebula. They think we will wait for them to come out. So, we don't attack them with ships." "Then how?" Jax asked. "We can't throw rocks that far." "We send a message," Sam said. "But not with words. We send a ghost." Leo raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "We build a drone," Sam said. "A stealth drone. It looks like a meteor or a piece of junk. We fly it right over their home world. We drop a single package. Not a bomb. A transmitter." "What will the transmitter do?" Mia asked. "It will broadcast a loop," Sam said. "It will broadcast the sound of our engines. And a message. It will tell them, we are watching. We are coming for you." The room was silent. It was a psychological attack. It was meant to scare them. Leo smiled. I like it. Make it happen. 2 weeks later, on the Provoke home world, the sky was dark. The cities were built underground to protect from the harsh winds. Suddenly, alarms began to ring. It was not an invasion alarm. It was a proximity alarm. Something was high in the atmosphere. Vex ran to his command center. Report, an object has breached the atmosphere, Overlord, a technician clicked frantically. It is small. It is not shooting. It is just floating. Shoot it down. Vex yelled. We are trying. It is moving erratically. It is too fast for our big guns. The object dropped a small box into the center of the capital city. Then, the object shot up into space and disappeared. The box sat in the middle of the plaza. Soldiers surrounded it, pointing their weapons. Suddenly, a voice came from the box. It was not booming. It was calm. It was Leo's voice. Provoke, the voice said. You attacked us because you thought we were weak. You thought we were prey. You were wrong. We are not prey. We are the humans. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Look at the sky. We are always there. We are always watching. This is your only warning. Surrender, or we will come to your home and take it. Then, the box started to play a sound. It was the sound of human music mixed with the roar of the Eternal Guardian's engines. It was a low, rumbling sound that vibrated in the chests of the aliens. It sounded like a monster growling. Vex stared at the screen. His mandibles trembled. How did they get past our shield network? They used stealth, Great One, the advisor whispered. And they have mapped our planet. The effect on the Provoke society was immediate. They were a species of warriors. They relied on fear. But now, they were the ones who were afraid. They looked at the sky with dread. They did not know when the humans would return. The fear paralyzed them. They stopped repairing their ships. They stopped training. Back on Earth, the results of the mission were better than expected. Sam sat in her lab, watching the satellite feeds of the Provoke planet. Look at this, she said to Jax. Their power usage has dropped by 40%. They are scared. Jax laughed. We didn't even fire a shot. We fired a shot at their minds, Sam said. Mia and Leo walked into the room. They looked tired but happy. The hegemony is asking to meet with us, Leo said. Mork is demanding an explanation. He says we are escalating the tension. Let him talk, Mia said. We are winning. Leo nodded. Yes. But the real war is over. We broke their spirit. They don't want to fight us anymore. They just want us to go away. In a secure bunker on Earth, the human leaders made a new plan. They realized that being the most dangerous species meant they didn't have to kill everyone. They just had to be the scariest thing in the room. We don't need to invade, Leo said to the group. We just need to make an example. We are going to send a small fleet to their border. Just enough to show them we mean business. And we will bring the diplomats. Diplomats, Mia asked. Now. Yes, Leo said. We fight until they break, then we offer them peace. But it will be our peace. On our terms. Jax looked at the map. So, we scare them into listening. Exactly, Leo said. The next day, the human fleet moved. It was not the whole fleet, just a small group. But these ships were painted black, with red stripes. They were the ships that had fought the hardest. The Eternal Guardian led the way. They parked just outside the range of the Provoke home world. They did not fire. They just sat there, engines rumbling, visible from the ground. On the planet, the population panicked. They saw the human ships as monsters waiting to eat them. Vex knew he had two choices: fight and likely be destroyed, or talk. His warriors were tired of being afraid. They refused to go out and fight. "Send the signal," Vex said quietly. We wish to discuss terms." The advisor looked shocked. "Terms, Overlord, we do not surrender to soft creatures. We are surrendering to the monsters." Vex roared. "Look at them. They do not fear death. How do you fight a species that does not care if it dies? We cannot win. Send the message." Back on the ship, Leo received the transmission. He looked at Mia. "They are ready to talk." Mia smiled. It was a cold, satisfied smile. "Good. Tell them to send over Lord Vex. Alone. Unarmed." Leo nodded. He sent the message. The alien forces were in shock. The hegemony was watching with their mouths open. The mighty Provoke, the terrors of the sector, were surrendering to a bunch of primates with basic tools. The reputation of humanity had changed overnight. They were no longer the harmless, cute little mammals. They were the sleeping giants that had woken up. The galaxy realized that if you pushed the humans, they would push back until you broke. Leo straightened his tie. He prepared to go to the meeting table. But this time, he wasn't going to beg for water filters. He was going to dictate the future. The age of fear was over. The age of humanity was beginning. And it all started because they refused to give up when the odds were impossible. The meeting room on the space station Unity Prime was crowded. Usually, the big meetings were empty because no one wanted to sit near the Provoke. But today, representatives from 30 different species were there. They wanted to see the humans. They wanted to see the small, soft creatures that had defeated the mighty hive. Leo walked into the room. He wore the same blue suit he wore weeks ago, but he walked differently now. Before, he walked carefully, trying not to bump into anyone. Today, he walked with his head high. He looked like he owned the station. Behind him were Mia, Jax, and Sam. Mia had her medals on her chest. Jax wore his pilot jacket, and Sam had a tablet in her hand. The aliens moved aside to let them pass. No one laughed. No one whispered "cute mammal." They were silent. They watched the humans with a mix of fear and respect. At the end of the long table sat Overlord Vex. He looked smaller than he did on the screen. His armor was scratched, and one of his mandibles was cracked. He did not stand up when Leo entered. He sat very still, his many eyes watching the humans. High speaker Mork floated in his tank on the side of the room. He looked nervous. He tapped his microphone. "We are here to discuss the end of the conflict between the Provoke and the humans. The hegemony has overseen the terms." Leo sat down opposite Vex. He did not say hello. He just placed a simple piece of paper on the table. "Read it," Leo said. Vex looked at the paper. A translator drone hovered over his shoulder. The Provoke read the words. His eyes widened. He made a clicking sound of protest. This is impossible," Vex hissed. "You demand our star charts, you demand our military codes, you want access to our heavy metal mines, and you want us to pay for the damage to the colony." "Yes," Leo said calmly. All of it? And there is one more thing. Vex waited. You must apologize, Leo said. You must send a message to every colony you attacked. You will say that the humans are not prey. You will say that you were wrong. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. For a Provoke to apologize was unheard of. They were a proud species. Overlord Mork floated forward. Now, Leo, Mork said gently. Surely this is too much. You cannot strip a great empire of its defenses. It is not fair to the balance of the galaxy. Leo turned to look at Mork. His stare was cold. Fair? Was it fair when they attacked the Pilgrim? Was it fair when they tried to enslave my people? You watched, Mork. You did nothing. You lost the right to talk about fairness. Mork shrank back into his tank. Leo looked back at Vex. You have 1 hour to sign. If you do not sign, the fleet sitting outside your home planet will not wait. They are not as patient as I am. Vex looked at the paper, then at Mia. Mia rested her hand on her holstered gun. She didn't say anything. She just looked at him. Vex knew she was the one who destroyed his dreadnought. He knew she was the one who led the boarding parties. He was terrified of her. She was not a big monster like him. She was small, but she was deadly. Vex picked up the pen. His hand shook. He signed the paper. It is done, Vex whispered. We surrender. Leo took the paper. He stood up. Good. The humans stood up and walked out of the room. The other aliens watched them leave as if they were kings. 2 weeks later, things in the galaxy had changed completely. The news networks were full of stories about the human miracle. Scientists were studying human history. They were shocked by what they found. On a talk show on the Hegemony Network, a reporter was talking to a historian. We always thought humans were weak because they lived short lives, the historian said, an alien with 3 eyes. But now we understand. Because they live short lives, they live with intensity. They do not plan for 100 years from now. They plan for today. Look at their history. They have fought wars on their own planet for thousands of years. They have survived ice ages, diseases, and disasters. They are the ultimate survivors. The reporter nodded. So, are they dangerous? The historian laughed nervously. Only if you threaten them. If you leave them alone, they are actually quite nice. They make good music and their food is spicy. But if you make them an enemy, well, ask the Provoke. On Earth, life was returning to normal, but it was a new kind of normal. The colony on New Kansas had the water filters they needed. The Hegemony had given them the technology for free. They were afraid not to. Sam was back at her job, but now she was teaching engineers how to modify engines for war. Jax was a hero. He flew diplomatic missions now, but every ship he approached gave him right of way immediately. No one wanted to accidentally make him angry. Mia stayed in the military. She was training the next generation of soldiers. She taught them that strategy was more important than strength. She taught them to be smart, to be tricky, and to never give up. Leo became the representative for Earth in the galactic hegemony. He had a seat on the council now. One day, a year later, Leo sat on the Unity Prime station. He was drinking coffee with Mork. Mork was much more polite now. The trade agreements are going well, Mork said. Your art is selling for high prices. Everyone wants a human painting. They just want to own a piece of the dangerous species, Leo said, smiling. Perhaps, Mork said. But the galaxy is safer because of you. The Provoke have stopped raiding. They are actually trading with us now. Leo looked out the window at the stars. We didn't ask for this power, Mork. We just wanted to be left alone. Mork looked at Leo. And now everyone is afraid to leave you alone. It is better to be your friend than your enemy. Leo nodded. He looked down at his hand. On his wrist, he wore a simple bracelet made of a piece of metal from the first Provoke ship they had destroyed. It was a reminder. He thought about the title the news gave them, the most dangerous species. It was strange. Humans were still small. They still got sick. They still died easily. But they had something the aliens did not. They had a spirit that could not be broken. Later that evening, Leo, Mia, Jax, and Sam met at a small restaurant on the station. They sat around a table and ate dinner. They didn't talk about the war. They joked about their families and complained about the weather on Earth. They were normal people. But as they laughed and ate, the other patrons in the restaurant watched them with wide eyes. They saw the way Jax laughed loudly, the way Mia watched the door, the way Sam counted her change, and the way Leo listened to everything. They saw the predators underneath the smiles. A group of pirates walked into the restaurant. They were big and rough, looking for trouble. They saw the humans. They drew their weapons to scare the humans. Jax stood up. He didn't draw his gun, he just looked at the pirates. He smiled. It was the same smile he had when he crashed the shuttle into the dreadnought. The pirates looked at Jax, then at Mia, then at Sam. They recognized them. They realized who they were trying to rob. The pirates quickly put their weapons away and ran out of the restaurant. Jax sat back down. "Cowards," he whispered. "Let them go," Mia said. "We have peace now." They continued their dinner. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. There were still dangers out there. There were still empires and monsters. But the galaxy knew one thing for sure. You do not poke the bear. Especially when the bear is a human. The humans were there to stay. They were not the biggest, not the strongest, and not the toughest. But they were the ones who would fight the hardest. And as long as they stood together, the galaxy would have to respect them. The story of the human race was just beginning, and the stars were waiting. The congratulations were over. The war was won. The humans had arrived.